And we will be posting a recording of this presentation we'll email it to you later, and you guys can rewatch if you have to skip out early or want to review some of the things that we say in this presentation. Also, we're going to have a Q&A session at the very end, so feel free to enter your questions into the chat and we will address them after the presentation. Let me just go ahead and all right, let's get started. So who are we? I just want to start by telling you a little bit about the company. So for 13 years, Run Wild Retreats has offered women-only trail running and wellness retreats around the world. Run Wild Retreats was founded by Elinor, who's here on the call with us today, who was managing editor of Trail Runner magazine at the time she was inspired to create potentially transformational travel experiences. In 2020, we won the award for Best Women-Only Running Tours from Runner's World magazine. And our team is comprised of 7 women, and we operate retreats in 8 countries. So I'm Hallie. I am one of the retreat travel specialists here at Run Wild Retreats. We've got Elinor with us on the call. She's our
Hi, everybody.
She's our founder and CEO. And she also chimes in as a retreat travel specialist and wears a lot of hats, as many CEOs do. So I just want to start off by giving you a little bit more information about our mission here at Run Wild Retreats, because we view ourselves as much more than a running tour company. We really want you to have a much deeper experience. And we believe that running is so much more than just a good workout. It's also more than just a fun way to explore a beautiful country. Running mindfully can transform your stress, including the stress that you may not even be aware of. You know, that stress that makes your joints achy and your mind fatigued before the end of the day. Our retreats are an exploration into the deeper layers of running, sinking into the endorphin high and resting in the flow state where it all just feels effortless. Our retreats provide the space to clear your mind, breathe deeply, connect with nature, and with what's in your heart. So I'll explain what all of that means first, and then we'll get into the practical stuff about all of the retreats. So why are our retreats more than a runcation? Of course, each day of each retreat centers around a fabulous running experience, but it's not just about the runs. Each retreat offers something different, such as a meaningful experience to learn about another culture and its history, its food, its environment. On our retreats, you'll enjoy wellness experiences, such as soaking in hot springs, treatments at world-class spas, healing sound baths, yoga classes, or you might be immersed in local experiences such as whale watching off the west coast of British Columbia, cooking class with professional chefs, touring historic castles and temples, or visiting natural wonders like giant waterfalls and black sand beaches, and so much more. But it's not just about seeing places and doing things. We've very intentionally designed our itineraries to be mindful and strike a balance between doing and being. After all, our mission is to support the whole woman, not just you as a runner. So what that means is that we offer moments and specific practices that help you be mindful and present and have a potentially transformational experience. We really want you to return home from your retreat feeling rejuvenated and inspired. And this comes from having an opportunity to really truly relax and be yourself, something we sometimes don't get to do at home when life gets so crazy and hectic. One of the things that you can expect from a mindful travel experience is a judgment-free zone. So on our retreats, you definitely don't have to worry about how you compare to other runners or feel the pressure to keep up with other people in the group. We encourage you to keep at your own pace and run in a way that feels playful and rewarding and not worry about what other people think. This is your retreat and your time to nourish yourself. So one of my favorite ways that we implement mindfulness into our retreats is with our presence policy, which suggests that you run without your watch so you can feel what it's like to not worry about pace or time. We hear all the time from women on our retreats that they feel so free and present without running with their watch. And after all, the most important measurement of success is how much joy you're experiencing on your runs. So I know it can be a little bit scary to let go of the watch, but it can really turn into recharging your relationship to running and focusing on the joy that you experience from running. So we do have a variety of running levels on our retreats, and we'll explain the 3 running levels and what to expect at each of these retreats and what kind of fitness you should have. But first, I want to explain why we describe the runs in terms of time on the trail versus how many miles you're going to be running each day. So while mileage data does play a valuable role in run training and monitoring your fitness progress, it's not so relevant in a retreat setting where our goal is to engage in the process of running. Describing the runs in terms of time on the trail provides a more accurate representation of the journey that lies ahead. So on each run, we make frequent stops for water, snacks, and to engage in the mindful running workshops, which I'll get into a little bit later. But time on the trail also accounts for spontaneous activities like wading shoeless in the Mediterranean Sea, doing the yoga pose, or taking a moment to sit and gaze at the phenomenal views that you've just worked so hard to reach. So let's start with our level 1 retreats. A level 1 retreat is recommended for you if you're just getting started or recovering from injury. On a level 1 retreat, we'll walk up to 6 miles a day and spend more time workshopping specific running posture and techniques to help you start running consistently while avoiding injury or burnout. And on a level 1 retreat, there's no need to worry about being the slowest one. It's okay on a level 1 retreat if you've never run trails before. And you can expect to feel challenged and rewarded for taking your running off the road with us. But a lot of times it is very rewarding. So your retreat leader will provide specific tips that will help you quickly adapt your running pace and stride to the different terrain, which is on the trails. On a level 1 retreat, the time on the trail each day varies between 30 minutes and 2.5 hours. Now that 30 minutes is usually going to be on the first day. We have the first run is just kind of getting to know you, shaking off the travel day. So the first day is usually a quicker run, and maybe the last day will be a quicker run too, because you're going to be catching your flights home that day. So that's why we have 30 minutes in there. But on the bulk of the days for the level 1 retreats, it's going to be a little bit more than 30 minutes and up to 2.5 hours. So the approximate daily distance for a level 1 retreat is going to be about between 3 and 6 miles. So these run walks take place on trails with rocks, roots, and short uphills and downhills, though overall have minimal elevation change. So this means that you're not going to be running on big mountains on a level 1 retreat. We mostly avoid any exposure in heights or high altitude. I'm just going to take a minute to take a sip of water before we hop into our level 2 retreats. So the time on trail for level 2 retreats varies between 30 minutes and 3.5 hours. Again, that 30 minutes is likely going to be on the first or last day of the retreat. The approximate daily distance is going to range between 3 to 6 miles. The runs on a level 2 retreat are a bit more challenging than you'll find on a level one, though the scenic rewards make them worth the effort. While the environments vary widely depending on the location, you can expect to be on mostly single track, narrow trails that may include some sustained uphills and downhills that at times can be steep. But we usually hike the uphills that are steep, and we teach you the techniques that you'll need to run on downhills. These trails may take us on loose, rocky terrain or through muddy sections along sea cliffs or other high exposed terrain. Though we do have some level 2 retreats that will not expose you to heights. I know some of you might be scared of heights. I've spoken to many people who are. So the Sonoran Desert Trail Running and Wellness Retreat is a good option for those of you who are more a level 2 runner but might be scared of heights. So level 2 is recommended for runners who can run at least 8 miles on the road comfortably. That's the base level of fitness that we recommend. You don't need to be fast, though you should have sufficient fitness for running consecutive days. We recommend these retreats for those who are okay with running on rooty or rocky terrain and who don't mind some exposure to such as narrow mountain trails or along sea cliffs for brief periods of time. And you might experience the occasional stream crossing in which your shoes might get wet on the level 2 retreats. And then finally, our last level is the level 3 retreats. So this is going to be the most challenging of retreats that we offer. The time on trail for each day on a level 3 retreat varies between 30 minutes to 4 hours, and the daily distance ranges between 4 to 10 miles. So on a level 3 retreat, the runs will take you on world-class single track trails through mountainous terrain that will take your breath away, literally. These rewarding runs feature big, long climbs and descents on rocky and rooty trails, and may involve crossing scree slopes and steep terrain that requires you be confident with your footing. You may also encounter stream crossings and other obstacles, and you might also be running in high altitudes that are above 7,000 feet. So a level 3 retreat is recommended for those of you with good fitness and some experience having run on trails before, preferably mountainous terrain also. So you should feel comfortable with heights and have the fitness to run up to 10 miles or more on the road comfortably if you're going to be joining a level 3 retreat. So our level 3 retreats that we are offering in 2023 is the Italian Dolomites Trail Running and Wellness Retreat, our retreat in Nepal, and our retreat in Montana as well. So you might be wondering, what makes our retreats mindful? On the retreat, you'll be supported by your retreat leader. Among many other things, your retreat leader provides mindful running techniques on the trail to help you run more efficiently and relaxed, even on rocky trails. What you learn could transform your running forever and make running feel easier and increase your flow. I can personally attest to this. After I learned the mindful running techniques, I started to enjoy running more than I ever had before. And I think it was just because I knew how to control my breath, I knew the posture, and I could run with ease more than I had ever experienced before. So some of the other experiences that add to the mindfulness of each retreat. Sorry, there we go. So we give you free time each afternoon. You can go enjoy the property where you're staying, or really just tune in with yourself and ask yourself what you need at this time. So it's your retreat, and take care of yourself. There's a variety of wellness activities that you can join in on. You can opt to add the transformational travel journal to your retreat package. So this offers some writing prompts, and writing is a really great tool to hone in on mindfulness. And then we also, before the retreat even begins, we have a video called Travel with Heart. And I think that this video was really well done, and it helps you to start taking the steps to cultivating a mindset of mindfulness before you even arrive on the retreat. And by doing this, it'll help you to enjoy your experience even more by setting up your mindset to be in the right way before you even get on the plane for your retreat. So who are these retreats for? One of the most common questions we get is, who else is going? Are they my age or my level? Can I come alone? And those are all really great questions. So one of the beautiful things that I've witnessed is about our retreats is the diversity of women who show up, but also the way that they all connect with each other. So women from varying backgrounds all connect on the one thing that they have in common, which is their love for running and experiencing the world. The average age of our retreat participants ranges between 35 to 65 years old, but many women who join our retreats are also into their 70s and early 30s as well. And our retreats are welcome for women above age 21. Each retreat is screened to ensure our guests are booked on the right level of retreat, so you don't need to worry about the other runners being your level. Plus, with the support of your retreat leader and local running guides, we're able to accommodate a variety of pace groups, and we encourage everybody to run at their own pace. If you're planning on coming alone, you won't be the only one. In fact, the majority of our retreat participants come on their own. And while many travel companies require single travelers to pay a supplemental fee when there's an odd number of travelers in a group, we do not. We absorb this cost so you don't have to pay more simply because you're traveling solo. So you have a couple of options. You can choose to book a shared room retreat package, in which case we'll match you with a roommate, another woman who's opting to travel alone. All shared rooms have separate beds, one for each person, of course. And then also on many of our trips, we offer private single room options as well. And while this does cost a little bit more, you will have a private room and you can select this option to be sure that you'll have your own space if that's what you prefer. So now I want to get into our retreat collections. We have 3 different retreat collections that I want to tell you about today. So starting with our Cozy Comfort collection. In our Cozy Comfort collection, we've handpicked charming, high-quality hotels and lodges for these retreats to ensure your comfort and care. Their design may be simple or understated elegance, but you can rest assured they meet our high standards of character and cleanliness. For these hotels, we prioritize access to trails, which usually means a beautiful location, and activities over on-site amenities. This means that you'll still have everything you need from these hotels and nothing you don't need. So the locations that we travel to that are part of our Cozy Comfort collection is Moab, Spain, Ireland, Iceland, the Canadian Rockies, Montana, and Nepal. So next we have the Premier Pampering collection. This collection features high quality or luxury accommodations, often with on-site full-service spa amenities and concierge services. You'll feel like a queen during this retreat because you definitely deserve it. Many of these hotels and resorts are destinations in and of themselves with superior services on site that will make your stay extra special. So the locations that we travel to that are part of our Premier Pampering collection include Bhutan, Vancouver Island, Telluride, Vermont, Italy, and Arizona, which is the Sonoran Desert. And then finally, we have our Close to Nature collection. So the lodging provided on these retreats is simple, yet provides all the essential comforts you need to rest well. We choose these lodges when it provides us the most convenient access to nature, including running trails, parks, and special sites we don't want to miss. Often these locations also take us far from busy urban centers and tourist sites, which means more quiet and serenity for you. So we actually only have one retreat right now that is offered under our Close to Nature collection, and that's going to be the Iceland Adventure with Intention retreat. That's happening this August, and we just announced it, and it's just going to be a really fun retreat. It's a great opportunity to explore more of Iceland and enjoy some iconic runs and get away from the crowds a little bit. So now we'll go over your questions.
Thanks so much, Hallie. This has been
Let
great.
me find you guys here. I've lost you. Don't see anybody. Okay.
So yeah, you can go ahead and pop your questions, folks, into the chat. That'll be the most efficient way for us to get through the list of questions that you have. So go ahead and put those in the chat. In the meantime, I'm going to start with some questions that were submitted in advance. And one of them was, like to know if there are a lot of single women that come on the retreats traveling alone. Yeah, and you don't want to be the only one without friends signing up. And so this is a great question, very common, and Hallie touched on this earlier, but definitely I'd say most of the women who come on the retreats are traveling solo. And one of the beauties of the whole retreat format is that right out of day one, you know, through the welcome meeting and the first shakeout run, when we're just kind of getting to know each other, it's a great opportunity for everyone to meet and start to learn where there's shared interests and common things. So even if you come alone, you will not feel alone. It's wonderful. You'll immediately become part of the group. So I highly encourage you to come, even if you're traveling on your own.
Yeah, and we have, I mean, women who have come on our retreats who show up solo. You know, the women end up creating a text group and then planning stuff throughout the year. So it is possible that you will make lifelong friends on the retreat, because we've seen it happen time and time again.
So I see Stephanie asked about footwear, and that's a great question. We do suggest, actually, it's required equipment to have trail running shoes specifically. And if you're not sure what really a trail running shoe is compared to a road running shoe, we do have resources that we can share about that, that explain that, but you'll just have better traction and better experience on the trails with a trail running specific shoe. So that's a great question. And most of the time, this wasn't part of the question, but it's not really necessary to have more than one pair of running shoes. Even if your shoes get wet or muddy, there's time for them to dry out, you know, in between runs or whatever. So one pair is usually plenty, but it's nice to have some other casual shoes for wearing when you're not running. So make sure you at least have one other pair of non-running shoes. And then another question about the run-walk ratio, and that's a great question, because as Hallie explained, with the level 1 retreats, we definitely right from the first mile are very intentional about alternating that running and walking throughout the whole run, just as a way to manage pace and kind of conserve energy, so we can make the most of our time on the trail. But even with the level 2 and level 3 retreats, I mean, as any experienced trail runner will tell you, hiking is part of trail running. So there's not a single run where we just run nonstop. Not only are we stopping to like enjoy views and take pictures and, you know, eat and drink from our hydration packs, but, you know, depending on the terrain and the environment, there's lots of opportunities to switch from a running stride to a hiking stride, because it's just a better way to navigate the terrain, the environment. And so you'll be amazed too. I'll give you guys a tip. The amazing thing about that is when we incorporate all this hiking and throughout the runs, it actually makes it feel so much easier to be running consecutive days, which if that's not what you normally do at home, don't worry about it, because the way we pace the runs and the way, there's so much time for rest and recovery built into the retreats that you'll have no problems with that at all. You'll find it quite manageable and comfortable to be running, 4 days in a row, or with the international trips, 7 days in a row. And I will also add, now that we've got longer international trips like the Bhutan and Nepal retreats that are 10 days in total as the package, with travel days kind of at the beginning and the end, there are non-running days incorporated into that 10-day itinerary, where we do other activities, where there's hiking, there's yoga, and there's options to do other kinds of light activities. So you're not running every single day in a row. What level is the Iceland retreat? Hallie, do you want to tell us a little bit more about the Iceland Adventure retreat?
Yeah, so the Iceland Adventure with Intention retreat is a level 2 retreat. It takes you into some of the most beautiful trails in Iceland. We partner with our Icelandic running guides, so they are professionals in the area. They know it like the back of their hands. We've been working with them for many years, and so not only will you be guided by locals and get kind of that insider knowledge, you'll be taken on some of the most beautiful trails around there, but it's going to be level 2. So we recommend you be comfortable running at least 8 miles on the road before heading out on the retreat.
And I see, so I put in, dropped a link in the chat. If you're not already following the chat, I put a link in there that goes to the Iceland Adventure with Intention retreat, which is a really fun new one, as Hallie said, that we've incorporated more activities in addition to the running. So it's a little bit more playful than our typical retreat. And what are the level 1 locations? So which retreats are level 1 retreats? I will put a link in the chat here that takes you to a page on our website that lets you sort the trips by level. But to answer your question, so we have the Vancouver Island Trail Running and Wellness Retreat is a level 1.
Moab.
We have a Moab mindful running retreat that is level 1, and we have one of those happening in April this spring. And there's room in there, and it's happening again this fall. And
Vermont also, the Vermont Trail Running and Culinary Retreat. So that one's really unique because we'll be not only indulging in the amazing trail running that Vermont has to offer, but also indulging in the robust culinary scene that's in Vermont. So there will be farm to table dinners, cooking lessons. The Essex Resort is where you'll be staying. So it's they have the Essex Culinary Resort and Spa is what it's called. So you'll take cooking lessons there, and just the food will not disappoint. But that's a level 1 retreat as well. So Elinor just dropped a link to that retreat, and then I just dropped a link where you can actually browse retreats by level and filter out all the levels you're not interested in and just view the ones that you are. So look for that link that I just dropped there too. Let's see, what other questions do we have?
So when is payment typically due? Yeah, so to book your spot on a retreat, there's a deposit, and the deposits vary from what are they now, Hallie?
$1,500 for an international retreat is what the deposit is, and then $800 for a domestic retreat, which is all of our retreats within the US.
And then the payment balance is due typically 150 days, which is 5 months before the trip departs for international retreats. And then for domestic retreats, it's shorter. It's 4 months before, usually 4 months before the retreat departs is when the balance payment is due. And we have a number of different payment options, which are all explained in our booking system as well.
Yeah, so a deposit is due to reserve your spot on the retreat. And then if you want to pay incrementally up until the retreat, the balance due date, just let me know. We can set that up for you. Or if you want to create a custom payment plan, just reach out to me. And I will drop my information in the chat. You can reach me at info@runwildretreats.com. And then I'll add that to the chat along with my phone number as well.
So I have a question about food and meals on the retreats, which is a great question, absolutely. So the question was about being able to accommodate vegans. And also too, we often get this question from people who are vegetarian as well, or have specific dietary restrictions or even allergies. So the vast majority of the time, we can definitely accommodate special diets, and we work with restaurants and caterers and resorts that can accommodate a wide range of dietary needs. So in some places the options might be limited, like if you're vegan and you're going to Iceland, there's not going to be a lot of variety, a lot of choices, but then in other places the vegan options are plentiful and wonderful. So what the food is like will definitely vary by destination, but we do gather that information from you. We have a whole intake form that we ask you to fill out after booking a retreat, so we can get to know you better and find out what special dietary needs you might have. So we'll definitely work with anyone who has specific needs and questions in that regard.
Yeah, and just to be clear, if you do want to go to Iceland and you are a vegan, we've definitely accommodated vegans, but you just might not have as many options versus Bhutan, which is a predominantly vegan or vegetarian vegan country. You might have many more options there, but no matter what retreat you want to go on, we will be able to accommodate your dietary needs.
So another great question is about dressing for the weather. She asked, is there a vehicle that follows? We can leave a bag of change clothes. Yeah, so dressing for the weather, there's a number of ways in which we'll support you with that. So first is supplying a packing list with our recommended items that you bring with you. And that includes a hydration pack. That really is helpful for being able to dress in layers and then adjust those layers throughout the course of the run. Because in some places, the weather tends to be very variable. And so you may want to start off with a jacket and maybe some mitts and a hat. But then, you warm up and then you want to discard the mitts and the jacket. And so when we're running on trails and there isn't like a follow vehicle specifically, you can at least put those items and put them in your pack and then continue on and be very comfortable running. So that's why the pack is such a great tool to use and to have with you for that purpose, since usually there isn't a vehicle that's right there. And sometimes, we are running and starting and finishing in the same location, but then there's other situations where we're running point to point. And so we don't see that vehicle until the end of the run. So it just kind of depends. So, but we definitely want you to be prepared for the conditions. And so when there's always a retreat leader there with you, that retreat leader, there's always a briefing that happens, usually the night before. And considering what the weather is doing, the guides and the retreat leader can advise you on how to dress for the following day's run. So we just kind of take it day by day in that regard. So that's a great question.
Yeah. And all of our vans are going to be private to the group. So if you wanted to leave something in there, you won't have access to it on the run, but after the run, when you return back to the van, you can rest assured that your stuff will be safe in the car there.
So Heather asked about training. Do we offer guides on that? What if you're not used to running on trails? Yeah, absolutely, Heather. So, if you have good level of fitness, but you're not used to running on trails, you'll be totally fine, especially with the on-trail clinics that the retreat leaders offer. It's very common, especially with level 2 retreats and level 1 retreats, that a lot of the people on those retreats are not used to running on trails, and that's okay. That's what the retreat leader is for. Now, if you're just kind of getting into running or just building fitness from kind of more from the beginning, it is a great idea to start running on a more consistent basis, even if it's a few miles at a time, a couple days a week. And we don't offer like a specific training plan for the retreats, but I would highly encourage you, if at all possible, to seek out a local running club or group. A lot of running stores offer free meetup runs, or there's some great coaches online that we can definitely recommend, that if you want someone to put together a specific training plan for you to help you get started. And you know what, it can even just take a few months of just getting out there, doing a few miles a couple times a week to even just build a nice base that would be totally suitable for a level 1, maybe even some of the level 2 retreats. So yeah, so don't worry about training up for a retreat. It's not something like we have to build up for like a half marathon. It's a lot more easygoing than that, for sure. Trail running's the best. Yeah, I think so too.
We agree.
So I mentioned this earlier. I'll just make sure in case there's any other questions about the duration of the retreats. Our domestic retreats are 4 days long, and that includes, well, we actually recommend like the retreats usually start in the afternoon of day 1 and then finish midday of day 4. So what a lot of people will do for those domestic retreats, it's often a Thursday to Sunday, not always. But especially with the way flights are, if you're flying to the destination, it's a great idea to fly to the destination on Wednesday, if at all possible. And then almost always we end in early enough on the last day that you have time to travel to the airport and fly home that same day on day 4. So that usually works really well, and that's how most people do it. With the international retreats, they're mostly 7 days in duration, but now we have more and more retreats that are 10 days long, and their start and end days of the week vary greatly depending on the destination. Now, if you're traveling to a foreign country and you want to make more of your time there, well, we now have a great service that can help you do that. You can either book a pre-designed package that extends your stay by 1 or 2 nights in the destination. It includes other wellness activities or fun activities and a beautiful resort hotel that you can, depending on the destination, you can add that to the beginning of your trip or the end of your trip. Or if you want us to design something customized to you, our concierge travel service means that we, from the ground up, kind of talk to you, who's in your group. Sometimes we have people's families come and join them after the retreat, and then we'll design like a whole multi-day package for her and her family that's completely separate from the retreat, but since they're there, they want to make the most of it. So our concierge travel services can help you extend your stay, whether it's like a week-long vacation with the family or just 1 or 2 extra days that you want to do something specific while you're there. So in that regard, it can be whatever length of time you want.
Yeah, and then also some of mostly the domestic retreats, you'll see on the retreat page, you can add a pre-retreat night or a post-retreat night. Simply you can just click that and add it. If there's a retreat, yeah, like Elinor said, if there's a retreat that doesn't have a pre and post-retreat night already set up, we can book you anything between 1 extra night and an airport transfer to designing an entire itinerary for a whole week after. So like Elinor said, it's custom. We've got lots of contacts in all of the places that we go, and we love travel planning, so we can help you definitely do that.
Katie asked about the size of the groups, and that's a great question. We really like to keep things, fairly, intimate. And so our groups are small, typically. Most of the time it's between 8 and 14 women. And then in addition to that, you'll have your retreat leader, who is an employee of the company. And we have a retreat leader accompany every single retreat that we run. And she's there to take care of all of the logistics. And she's with the group the entire day for all your activities, all your meals. She is there to support. And then we'll have 1 or 2 local guides. And so these are usually people who are local to the area. And so they're mostly with us when we're on the trails and traveling from place to place. So that's usually what the size of the group is like. So not too big, just right. Let's see.
Yeah, that looks like most of the questions. Does anybody have any other questions?
You're welcome. I'll just say that we will offer, or we will be sending out an email after this call with links to more information, where you can find more information and our contact information. So you can definitely reach out to us one-on-one. We're happy to speak to you personally if you want to tell us more about your running background, what you're looking for, or what you really want in a retreat, and we can definitely do our best to help you pick the right retreat for you. That's our whole goal. And answer any other questions that you might have. And if you are looking to come and you want to bring like a group of friends, or you've got a whole little posse that you want to come, do contact us, and we can work out something special for your group as well. So yeah, thank you so much, everybody. And unless there's any other questions, we will see you over hopefully on a retreat very, very soon. We look forward to running with you.
Yeah, thanks for showing up, everyone. You have my contact information, and never hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to answer. You might be laying in bed later tonight and, oh, I should have asked that question. So I'm here all the time, happy to help. So we hope to see more of you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good night.